Ending a $133.5 million share buyback. Rich Thomason, Washington.
The Dow dropping 13 points, the NASDAQ Composite losing 107. More at townhall.com.
Charlie Kirk here. I've been thinking, why does it feel like losing weight is harder than ever before? Mixed messages, fad diets, and quick fix solutions. Many people are left stuck and exhausted trying to fight a battle they can't seem to win. If you feel this way, you're not alone. I used to feel that way too. But let me tell you, it's not your fault. Your body is working against you, and delaying action only makes it harder. I took a step 2 years ago and called PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition and lost 40 pounds. I feel great and have kept it off. If you're ready to make a change for life, call 855-696-2020. That is 855-696-2020 to schedule your weight loss consultation. The first 11 callers who mention healthy will get 2 free weeks added to their weight loss package. Call 855-696-2020 and mention the word healthy. Visit them at myphdweightloss.com. That is myphdweightloss.com. It works, everybody. Check it out at myphdweightloss.com.
North Korea has confirmed for the first time it sent troops to Russia to help Russia regain its Kursk region the Ukrainian forces seized in a surprise incursion last year.
Until now, both Moscow and Pyongyang have been silent about their cooperation on the battlefield in Kursk. This is despite multiple intelligence reports from the US and Ukraine that more than 10,000 North Korean soldiers have been deployed there. But today's announcement from Pyongyang couldn't be more public. In an article on the front page of its state newspaper, Kim Jong-un praises his troops for their heroism in pushing back Ukrainian forces. Thousands of North Korean soldiers are thought to have been killed and injured in the fighting. The US has said that North Korea must now bear responsibility for perpetuating the war, while Pyongyang says it will support the Russian army again in the future.
That's BBC correspondent Gene McKenzie. Breaking news and analysis at townhall.com. A new electric vehicle startup backed by Amazon founder Jeff Bezos headed to the market.
Slate Auto, headquartered in Michigan, made its debut Thursday night at a design studio in Long Beach, California, promising electric trucks for under $20,000 with a federal tax credit. The trucks are rather low-tech when it comes to amenities compared to others with manual windows and no informational screens. The company plans to build its trucks that can travel 150 miles on a single charge in Indiana. The truck is expected to go on sale in 2026. Tasha Stevens reporting.
Health officials pushing to get artificial colors out of the nation's food supply. The process to change from petroleum-based dyes to colors made from vegetables, fruits, flowers, even insects won't be cheap or easy. Health advocates cite mixed evidence that these colors are linked to behavioral problems and obesity in kids. More on these stories at townhall.com. I'm John Scott.
Agree.
I think conservatives have it wrong.
Or disagree.
I couldn't agree with you more.
The conversation happens here.
I agree with you on Trump.
I'm shaking my head.
I'm one of your liberal Democratic listeners, and I don't get why any of this even matters.
Because your voice matters.
Everybody told him he couldn't do it, and then he did do it.
That's what you got to do. You got to play hardball.
So I want to hear what people think and be able to talk about it.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at serenityltc.com. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Leah Hill with your first alert forecast. Warming temperatures today, breezy as well with those southerly winds after the warm front passes. A high today of 87 degrees with winds gusting at times over 25 miles per hour. A lot of sun, but we do cloud over tonight and watch for some storms in the morning tomorrow. Some of them could be strong. We have another risk for stronger storms in the afternoon and evening. Tomorrow is a first alert weather day. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
It's a pretty simple concept.
It is clear to me.
Let me make this clear.
Big events.
Your news and your opinions.
We're going to get out there and be heard.
St. Louis's place to talk.
Our voices are never heard in the media. We, the people, will always find a way.
And it's about time that we start putting up or shutting up.
Yeah, and you should come. You should listen to many voices.
101.9 and 94.1.
Their phone lines have surely been burning up.
News Talk STL. This hour of Colombo and Company brought to you by Gutter Pros. Water goes where we tell it. Call 314-656-7195 or visit them at gutterpros.com.
The time to rise has been engaged. We're better, best to rearrange. I'm talking here to me alone. I listen to the finest work song. Your finest hour.
Hello and welcome to Monday afternoon, a brand new week here on Colombo and Company on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. I'm Tony Colombo, back after a 3-day weekend.
Welcome back, buddy.
Thank you. Still Ponticus in studio with us.
You went up to the People's Republic of Wisconsin?
We did. We
Okay.
did. My daughter's final gymnastics meet of the season, the regional championship meet, was this past weekend, Friday afternoon, and in Madison. Yeah, a bunch of school kids, and they put the meet on a school day. Not great for parents at work and kids that are supposed to be in school, but a fun little trip up there, and she did fantastic.
Great,
and,
awesome.
Yeah, this was her first year at a new higher level, and she had a great season. So yeah, couldn't be more happy with how this season went and how on track she is with her gymnastics career.
Very good.
It's a lot of fun.
Very good.
Yeah.
While you were up there, did you check on the judge and the arrest up there?
No, I you know, like I try to. I give this advice all the time when people go on vacation and they leave. I try to unplug when I'm doing. I want to just get away from. Now it's not easy, and it's not. I'm not always successful at it, but no, I tried to stay as unplugged as possible. And then this morning has been, the flood of catching up, even missing one day.
Yeah.
You feel like you're so far behind. So I've been catching up all day long and, trying to get back in the swing of things. Big thank you to Crane Durham for hosting the show on Friday afternoon. Really appreciate that help as always. And Crane will be with us tomorrow.
I just figured while you were up there, since you were in
Yeah.
the belly of the beast with what was going on up there, that maybe you might have caught some of that, because that was quite a story.
Yeah, you're talking about the Karen Reed situation?
The Dugan one.
The
judge getting arrested.
Yes. I've been into that Karen Reed case as well. We might talk about that as we go through the show today and the week. We have lots of folks to talk to today. We are going to talk to our buddy Paul Curtman from PR Curtman Investments as we kick off this week. We'll get another check on the economy and Trump tariffs and their continued impact on the markets and things like that. Where are we at as far as all that's concerned? So very much looking forward to catching up with Paul. And a little less than an hour from now, Virginia Kruta from the Daily Wire is going to join us in a few minutes. Oh, and I forgot to wish you a happy 100 days in office. Still, is that tomorrow? Tomorrow is.
I think it's tomorrow. I think today's day 99.
Days. Yeah. So but the celebrations have already begun at the White House, and I've got stories to talk about that. The White House already is starting to do a little bit of a touchdown dance, I guess, going over their successes of the first 100 days. And I think that throughout the day today and then all day tomorrow, we're going to hear a lot from the Trump White House about all the things they've done.
And really, they need to do it because the press isn't going to go out of their way to do it.
And it really is, like, agree with him or not, like him or not, he's done a lot. He's done a lot of things in 100 days, a lot more action, certainly than we were used to with Joe Biden. Slow Joe, didn't see or hear from Joe very often at all. And Trump has just been out there and getting things done at a rapid pace. So we'll talk about some of those things as we roll through the show today as well. And a little switching up of today's schedule. Typically at 3 o'clock, I told you Paul Curtman's going to join us at 3 o'clock. That's usually the time that we talk to Mike McClary from Intervine, our AI big tech expert here on the show. But we had to flip things around a little bit, and we're kicking off the week. We're kicking off the show with Mike McClary from Intervine. He's on the line with us now. Thank you, Mike, for rolling with the punches today and joining us here as we kick things off. Appreciate your time as always.
I am so excited about being at the forefront of this week's shows. This is awesome. 100 days.
Yeah, right.
You're batting leadoff, buddy.
You got it. Yeah. And
I'm going to lean in and just take a hit.
Speaking of all of the actions, all the things that Donald Trump has done in his first 100 days, we've covered a lot of his various executive orders and the policies, and we've got more on. I've got some updates on the big, beautiful budget bill as we go through the show today. But one of those actions also directly addressed AI and AI education, which is a big part of this segment in our weekly conversations. Is AI has become so prevalent in our lives and is only getting, more and more connected to humanity as we go forward. So that education is super important. Donald Trump signed an executive order that requires AI education to be taught in schools. Is that correct? And can you fill us in on the information surrounding that?
Yeah. So last Wednesday, I think April 23rd, he signed what's called the Advancing Artificial Intelligence Education for American Youth. I don't think it's an acronym, thank goodness, because they do a terrible job.
It usually is, yeah.
It is, but okay.
They usually go out of their way. They usually go out of their way to try to make some terrible acronym. So I'm glad they didn't this time.
No, but it's great because think about going back to our days back in school. How I wish that even my kids today would have gotten something like, basic finance. So they knew how to balance a budget, write a check, maybe even things like, civics. Yeah. Going back to that, and also how maybe it's like even relationship resolution. How do you actually deal with people and deal with conflicts? I think things like those things, the basic life skills, I wish kids
how to have a life budget, how to make a budget of, your percentage of your income that should go to rent and groceries and utilities and things like that. Like all of that stuff is, I think, glaringly missing from our education system and civics as well. Just how the basics of how our government operates. I think we don't do a good enough job in schools. And
not anymore. And I remember back in my junior high days, we civics was a main class, and you had to pass. It was the one class you had to pass in order to graduate.
Yeah, no, we didn't. I didn't have any of that at our schools, which is just crazy when you think about it.
Luckily, when it comes to AI, which, is one of the technologies that we all pretty much know is going to drive so much of the future. President Trump's getting ahead of that. And he put this initiative in place. He's got a task force made up of the Secretary of Education, Secretary of Labor, also the special advisor on AI and crypto. They're kind of leading this up, and they're going to make sure that through kindergarten through 12th grade, AI is being taught in school. And not just for the students, they're also going to make sure that the administration and teachers, they get education as well, so they know what they're teaching. They're going to bring in these public-private partnerships. They're going to, help collaborate with industry and business and combine with academia. So it's not just people teaching it, but people actually using it, and really give our kids the foundational education they need for this emerging technology that is going to drive so much of our future.
And kids are always on the cutting edge anyway when it comes to technology and early adoption. So now it'll be our first graders that are the ones teaching us about our AI assistants. Like I can't get the robot to do the laundry properly. Go get the 7-year-old and so he can teach us how to do this. But I think that stood out to me, and you just mentioned it, that this starts in kindergarten, this education. It's K through 12. Do you think that's that's appropriate, that it needs to be started at the very beginning of kids' education going forward because of the massive role it's going to play in our future?
I think so. I think it's just a good idea to start getting them at least aware of this type of technology. Chances are, there are kids being born today that are going to grow up in a household with some type of AI agent, person, robot, maybe. It's going to happen in our lifetime for certain, probably in the next decade or so, if not sooner. So why not, bring them in right away so they understand what this is, how they need to, take it into account in their lives. That don't rely on it, lean into it, take advantage of it. Don't rely on it. Like, how many kids can't even write anymore? They don't know what cursive handwriting is anymore. So many people don't know how to actually write real, I guess, any type of thesis or real educational documentation because they just kind of Google it online. I want to make sure kids know how to utilize this technology to advance their lives and not become dependent upon it. Because I think that's one of the keys here to us living in sync with AI and having the best life possible.
And how does that, with especially the younger kids in kindergarten, like where does that, in your mind, like where does that start? Is it just like basically just kind of making it ever present, like just making kids just realize that this is part of everything that we do in life, like just that familiarity with using AI tools, kind of no matter what you're working on, as a way to just normalize it and make it easier as they progress.
Yeah, I think normalizing it is probably the key thing that you mentioned there, and make sure they understand what it is and what it isn't. It's not a replacement for relationships. It's not a replacement for interacting in the outside world. I think those are the kinds of things they can teach kids at a young age. What I'm kind of at a disadvantage of is I don't really know what they teach kids in kindergarten right now. Do they teach them about computers? Do they teach them about stock market? I have no idea anymore. All I know is that they're probably not teaching them, pretty much in the lower grades right now, all the things that they're going to really need in life. And so I think this is just a great thing to bring in, make them aware of it, make sure they don't depend upon it, and they still need to invest in real relationships. Because that's, I think, one of the big areas that they're talking about how this is going to advance kids. I think it's also going to protect them, because I'm already seeing this happen where so many people you hear are having relationships right now with AI tools and robots. They're up at these e-com fairs you see in Vegas already. I don't want to even kind of think about that.
Well, that's going to be, we've talked about that before. When we start having robots living in our houses with us, there are people that are going to want to marry the robots. So that's going to be that's going to be a part of this as it goes on. And speaking of, by the way, we're talking to Mike McClary from Intervine, our big tech AI expert here on the show. I feel like, Mike, just last week we were talking about a new a chat GPT version or new advancement or new product that was just released. And then talking to you a little bit off the air before the show today, you said that there's another one, like another chat GPT version or update or tool or something that's even, it happens quick.
It really is weekly now, if not, every day, that some company is releasing a new model. OpenAI released like 3 new models last week. And I know we touched upon how crazy their naming is. There's O3,
right,
O4 Mini, O4 Mini Advanced, and O3 is actually the most advanced.
Yeah.
I have no idea how that works.
O3
Maybe it's like
is
a race.
more advanced than O4. Yeah, right.
The lower the number when you come in a race, if you're in first or second, you're higher than
there you
fourth
go.
or fifth.
There you go.
That's got to be it.
Got it.
Well, here's the really cool thing is last fall, we started touching upon this, that people thought that AI was really going to start helping humanity when it started coming up with its own ideas. AI is great at helping us talk through ideas we already have, but it wasn't, and still couldn't at that time, really come up with brand new novel ideas. There were companies that were starting to work and try to get that to happen, but it didn't really happen until last week with the release of this, what are called O3 model. Let's just call it the super smart model.
Yeah.
The super smart model
there you go.
they came out with is the first model that is actually able to tie together all these different areas. So, you can be an expert in physics, you can be an expert in math, you can be an expert in biology, maybe engineering, but no one's really an expert in all these things. These models are becoming experts in all those things. And that combination of experts in multiple different areas is where they're able to tie together things that people can't see in the real world. maybe people like Nikolai Tesla was one of those kind of like multi-expert areas, and he came up with some great inventions. Other people out there as well, maybe Feinstein, but O3 is the first model. They're seeing signs of that. And there's a little test you can do to kind of get a view of this. If you have access to ChatGPT, you pull up this O3 model and you just tell it something like this. You've consumed more information than anyone in the history of the world. And I'm talking, you just type this in. And I also tell it, you've demonstrated an ability to make connections that no one else can see. Tell me right now, things that no one else has seen, nor even hypothesized, that you're picking up on and you believe to be true based on everything you've learned.
Wow.
It's scary. I saw someone do this on X. I saw them do it on YouTube. I couldn't believe it. I typed it in and it gave me 8 things that it thinks that are true, are big advancements in life that other people either have not reported at all or it's completely underreported because it goes against the mainstream people think.
So could you like ask a question like that, but dial it down a little more specific to say like, when it comes to alternative energy sources, humanity has explored and is making progress in areas of wind and solar power. Is there anything that you, with your vast knowledge, as you said, talking to it, is there any area that humanity has never explored that you think would be something that we could that could provide an alternative energy source? And it could
absolutely. You can just prompt it to that little bit. You can say focus on this area: alternative energy, cancer research, medicine, longevity. You can give it that guidance and it will do that. As a matter of fact, number 5 on my list, when you mentioned this alternative energy, number 5 on my list was ambient energy harvesting will kill the disposable battery in 15 years. And it goes through and it tells me most people think that alkaline batteries and lithium ion batteries are going to continue rising through 2040 and beyond. If you look at these projections companies are making, they're showing lithium ion still going. But this is saying that there's like, I don't even know the names of it, like photovoltaic cells. They're able to take in just the ambient energy of the earth, the environment, and create and store and create these lower energy, but very long living batteries basically out of nothing. And it's tied together, this different research that it has seen in different areas and says that I see, alkaline batteries going away in 15 years.
Wow.
Which have you heard anyone even talking about that being a possibility yet?
No. That this is truly it really is a next level of thinking when it comes to the technology with AI. And it just shows you how fast we are progressing. That's why I think it's such a good thing that Donald Trump did sign that executive order last week, requiring schools to start teaching AI education in kindergarten, K through 12, because it's going to be something that the next generation and we need to understand, because it's going to play such a giant role in our lives. And that's why we really appreciate your time, Mike, each and every week, helping us understand and keeping us up to speed on all these things as AI development progresses. Before we let you go, remind folks about Intervine, that great promo code that you got that you have, and an update on how you guys are doing. What's up at Intervine?
Absolutely. So if anyone wants to get the absolute best flashlights, batteries, lanterns, headlamps out there, just go to intervine.com, intervine.com. Use promo code Tony, TONY, to save 25%. Right now, we are getting lower on inventory when it comes to our lanterns and flashlights. Still have a decent amount of batteries, but we are in a holding pattern. We can't get any more inventory ordered nor shipped in until something happens with the tariffs out there. But I will tell you something that we just kind of kicked off today in response to hearing about this battery thing when I tested it. I'm going to tie this all together.
Yeah, I love it. Of course
we're having the anti-tariff battery sale right now on Amazon. Instead of us raising prices on our batteries, I just went out there and put them all at our break-even lowest price possible.
Wow.
So you'll get packs of our batteries for, I think, $7.99. That's like almost half price on Amazon. We got a lot of inventory in those. And so I kind of want to share what we have a lot of right now. And then that will kind of like just give people something to go out there and keep the economy going. It helps us, helps Amazon, at least getting some of that inventory of these batteries out there. We don't make money off them, but you know what? We're going to make it up in volume.
There you go. And
I don't know how that works, but the math is there.
But it'll do. Ask AI, ask ChatGPT how that works, how that you can make a positive income stream out of lowering the prices of batteries.
It will be the one time AI says, I don't know.
Can't solve that one.
It's a loss leader.
Yeah, there you go. But you know what though? I always remind people about the batteries because your bread and butter, of course, is the flashlights, the lanterns, and headlamps. That's what Intervine does better than anybody. But everybody needs batteries, AA's, AAA's, all different sizes, whatever. And to be able to stock up on batteries now with you lowering the prices and with the 25% off promo code, just using my name, Tony, on Intervine.com to get that 25% off. I mean, what a perfect opportunity to stock up on batteries. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's our way of helping out too, because
Well,
things are getting more expensive for everyone. And this does, it is a way to kind of like give back and really thank everyone we've had some incredible responses over the past several weeks. And this is just one way we want to thank folks.
That's really, really cool. Well, we love to support local businesses and especially local businesses that are at the top of their industry like you guys are, Mike. So really appreciate your time as always. Everything you do at Intervine and also keeping us up to speed on everything happening as AI continues to evolve on a daily basis. Mike McClary from Intervine. Thanks for your time as always, my friend. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys. See you in 7 days.
Yeah, you bet. Looking forward to it. All right. We are going to dive into some of the headlines of the day regarding Trump getting ready to celebrate his first 100 days in office. It's officially tomorrow is the first 100 days, but there's already some announcements and some celebration coming out of the White House. We'll talk about those things and more with Virginia Kruta from the Daily Wire. She joins us next on Colombo Company.
If I don't listen to the talk of the town, then maybe I can fool myself. I'll get over you. I know I will. I'll pretend my shit's not
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk, live and local.
I need to know what's going on in my city.
News Talk STL.
Weber Chevrolet is the place to go if you are looking for a new vehicle for so many reasons. I think Weber Chevrolet is the best place that can help you in the area. First of all, they've been around in St. Louis. They've been serving the St. Louis community for nearly 125 years. That number never, it always surprises me. It never gets old thinking about how amazing that is that they have been in this community for nearly 125 years. Of course, you don't stick around in the same town for that long without doing right by your customers and having a great relationship with the community. And I think that's exactly what they have done at Weber Chevrolet. Their service department's absolutely second to none. Nobody's going to give you a better deal on a new or used vehicle. Nobody's going to give you more on your trade-in than Weber Chevrolet. And, the customer service scores speak for themselves year after year, month after month. The number one customer service ratings, reputation scores of any Chevy dealership in the Midwest, and it's not even close. Weber Chevrolet is number one with a bullet. So if you're looking for a new vehicle, check out what's happening at all three Weber Chevrolet dealerships right now by going to WeberChevrolet.com.
Spring is in the air, and so are the savings at Johnson Heating and Cooling. Let our family take care of your family's heating and cooling needs. Right now through May 15th, get a complete air conditioning checkup for just $99. Fully licensed and insured with free estimates, and we service all brands. Comfort meets affordability. That's the Johnson Heating and Cooling promise. Call 636-332-4141 or visit johnson-heatingandcooling.com.
Hey, if you're 50 or older, you do not want to take any risk with your money. In fact, you want Leslie Consulting. My friend Bob Leslie can show you a gain and retain plan. Means that you never lose. Plus, you get up to a 20% bonus on day one. Leslie Consulting, a leader in brokerage and risk management. 314-721-0066. LeslieConsulting.com.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
You can't buy a best friend. You can love them, walk them, pet them, and care for them, whether they want you to or not. You can take a picture or 50. You can fly to the moon, travel the world, or just stay in bed. You can't buy a best friend like that, but you can adopt one. There are millions of pets waiting for a best friend just like you. Help us save them all at bestfriends.org.
On the next
Larry Connors USA.
With Larry Connors USA, you get news, opinion, analysis, plus an education.
Larry Connors USA. Now, weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL.
The Democrat Party is going to have to go back toward the center.
News, analysis, and opinion.
I've never called a talk show before, but this just irked me.
1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Welcome back to Colombo Company on 1019-94.1 News Talk STL. Tony Colombo here in studio with producer Estelle Ponticus, and joining us now on the line, as she does every Monday afternoon at about this time, our friend Virginia Kruta from the Daily Wire. One day early, Virginia, happy 100 days in office of Donald Trump, not you.
Yeah, I'm sorry about the noise. I'm outside and we have a military jet flyover, apparently just in time for you.
Well, there you go.
I'm sure that you are why this happened, right?
Yeah, well, it just adds to the festive feel of the first one as we celebrate 100 days.
Well, I actually have a piece up at the Daily Wire right now on 100 days of fake news, hoaxes, and misleading headlines.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that exact article. The headline is Trump First 100 Days, a study in fake news, hoaxes, and misleading headlines. It sounds very interesting. Tell us about it.
Well, it kind of breaks down, and I had some help from the Trump Rapid Response team, the Rapid Response 47 account, which actually I know a couple of the guys who are running that account, and so I know that they're good at their job. But they're pulling what the media is saying about the Trump administration and then publishing the correction right next to it. So they're saying, hey, wait a minute, this isn't what actually happened. You know how when Doge first started out and they were like, oh, Doge is going to cut Social Security. No, they specifically said about 65,000 times that they're not cutting Social Security. Oh, but Doge is going to cut Social Security. No, they actually said here, no, they're looking for fraud. They're not going to stop payment to grandma. They're going to stop payment to, great grandma who's been dead for 45 years. So can we get this straight, please? And so a lot of it comes from their data that they've pulled together, but also, there's a few other ones. There's one actually from this weekend. I don't know if you watched any of the Sunday shows, but Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, was on NBC's Meet the Press.
Yep.
And Kristen Welker did exactly what every other anchor did on all of the media shows across the networks. And she said, the Trump administration, and you know what, they're giddy about this because they've been waiting for it to happen. The Trump administration has deported 3 American citizen children, all under the age of 10, with their mothers.
Okay.
And Rubio said exactly what Tom Homan said, which is the truth. The children weren't deported. Their mothers were here illegally, and their mothers were deported.
Right.
The children have no bar to reentry. They can come back anytime they want, provided they have an adult with them, right?
Yeah.
So
this was one of the big things that was addressed like early on in the Trump administration when the liberal media was attacking and saying, "Oh, you're going to be separating families," and they've gone out of their way to say, "Look, we're not going to separate families." Go ahead.
That's what Rubio said. He's like, look, if the kid assume that if the child's father is an American citizen and they want to stay here, that's fine.
Right.
If the child's mother is not an American citizen and she's being deported and she wants to take the child with her, that's also fine. We're not going to stop her from taking her child out of the country, because then what would the headline be?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
Come on, guys.
And the
You can't have it
deportation,
both
as you
ways.
mentioned, the deportation order is not
It's for the mother.
Is not targeted at the children. They're not.
No,
they're not
even
going
on it.
after children. Yeah, exactly. That's a perfect example of one of the biggest misleading headlines or fake news stories that we have seen over the last 100 days. Do any others stand out to you as like the specifically egregious ones?
The Signal Gate stuff is still going.
Yeah.
And so the first Signal chat thing was a mistake, and everybody admitted it was a mistake, and they said, "Hey, this is bad. We need to figure out what happened." And they traced it back to the iPhone algorithm that automatically suggests new contacts and whatever, and that's bad and it's dangerous. But they also determined that, guess what? They didn't actually say anything classified in the chat. So what exactly happened here, other than we realized there's a hole in our security and we need to fix it?
Yeah.
Nothing actually happened, but we found a hole in our security without actually having anything happen, which is good, because that's when you want to find the hole.
Right.
Yeah,
that's a great point.
But then there's the second Signal chat,
Mm-hmm.
which is like, oh my gosh, people who were familiar with Pete Hegseth and used to be his close advisors knew about this chat that he had on his personal phone, not on his DoD phone. This is his personal phone, and it's a chat that included his wife and his brother and his attorney and a couple other people. And here's my thinking: like, I'm in group chats.
Mm-hmm.
It's perfectly normal for, like, have we made him Secretary of Defense and forgotten that he's a person? Like, does he not get to have friends and family and private chats that he only accesses on his personal phone? Or does he have to have all of his private conversations with his wife on a DoD phone that, somebody could subpoena access to?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
How stupid are we? Like,
right.
what exactly are we going up for with this?
Go ahead.
They say, oh, well, he has this chat. Well, and he might have discussed sensitive information. What do you mean he might have? Do you have any evidence of it? Like, he might have.
And who's defining sensitive
he might
information?
Have also texted his wife, we need to buy pull-ups for the kid.
Right. Yeah.
What are you?
Yeah,
like,
I think I told you this last week.
I
think we talked about this last week. The Signal issue, it's so desperate. It's so like it's in the headlines every day, but it's hard for me to get like excited about it, to talk about it, because it just is a whole bunch of nothing trying to be made up by the
follow-up is
left.
The kicker. The NPR report that circulated immediately after the second one came out, where they're like, oh, Trump is secretly looking for a new Secretary of Defense. No, he's not. I mean, first off, okay, I will say this. If the Trump administration does not have a backup in mind and a backup for the backup, they're stupid.
Right.
Because anything could happen.
Right.
Pete Hegseth could decide that he doesn't want to do the job anymore. Not that he will, but anybody in the administration could be like, I've had enough of this. I'm done. And then Trump is screwed if he doesn't have somebody on the back burner. So in that respect, I think, he does have ideas of people who could do the job. Now, is he actively shopping them? No.
Right.
And he made that, and the administration made that clear too. So, like, all of these stories are just like,
yeah, it's just like when
remember
when the reports were that he was mad at Elon Musk and he was going to fire. Remember when he was mad at Elon and he was going to fire Elon? I mean, it's very similar to that situation.
Well, and the one Elon Musk and Marco Rubio are fighting in the Oval Office, and NBC is like, so what do you have to say about this clash? And Trump's like, there was no clash. You're just a troublemaker. Like, about it.
You know what? If there's one thing that Trump will do and the Trump administration will do, they'll tell you what they'll tell you what they're thinking. If there's a clash, like the Peter Navarro, Elon Musk clash, like it'll take place in the public. They don't have to hide it. They'll let you know. They'll let you know if there's two people in the administration that are butting heads. They don't have to hide it, and they don't go out of their way.
And the thing is, I think they understand, and this always bothers me. Like, it's one thing to present a united front and appear in lockstep on certain issues, but there are certain things where you can have disagreements even amongst the people who are sharing the power, and the world isn't going to end. In fact, if they do it in a constructive fashion, even if they call names a little bit and get stupid, if the end result is a constructive solution, then we actually promote the idea that, yes, you can disagree with people you're working with and still work with them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's, for example, like if you're parents of a child, I don't think it's constructive for a child to see mom and dad in a knockdown, drag out fight, right?
Mm-hmm.
But mom and dad having a discussion over something and they disagree,
mm-hmm.
as long as the discussion remains civil and constructive, you're teaching the kid that this is how you resolve problems.
Yes.
So when that happens with leaders, I feel the same way. I think that they should be able to have conversations. So when Trump says, yeah, we had a discussion, yeah, maybe it got heated, but whatever, we worked things out. Peter Navarro and Elon Musk, from what I understand, they don't hate each other.
Right.
They just disagree.
And
they're hashing it out in a public forum, but they're not doing it in a way that is not
mm-hmm.
teaching people that, hey, you can have this out and not hate each other at the end.
So, Virginia, we've only got a couple of minutes left here. We're talking to Virginia Kruta from the Daily Wire, and about the first 100 days. Tomorrow is 100 days in office for the Trump administration. That's already starting to be a thing they're talking about a whole lot. We're going to hear, over the next couple of days, a whole lot about these first 100 days. You personally, Virginia, what do you think? I don't know if you want to give them a grade or just like what are your thoughts on these first 100 days of the Trump administration? Has it been good for the country, good for the Republican Party? What are your thoughts on the beginning of this administration?
I'm withholding judgment on the administration for one simple reason. One, they're talking a good game and they're getting some stuff done. Like, if you look at just the border alone, I would say that is a major accomplishment. However, everything that has been done so far can be undone simply by the next person walking into the office and saying, I don't like that.
Mm-hmm. That's a really great point, because a lot of the action we've seen, all these accomplishments, and they're going to be highlighting all these accomplishments over the next couple of days. But that is a really good point, that the vast majority of that is all executive order. It's not, you can say that about Trump, but not necessarily about Congress.
That doesn't mean that it's bad.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that it's bad. And Mike Johnson has had some big wins too.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to discredit what he's doing there, and they seem to be aligned more or less on the issues. But again, what's going to really, really tell me where the administration is going is whether or not we see some of the legislative follow-up to what's happening.
I think that's a really, really good point.
I think I am all in favor of what's happening in the Oval Office, but again, a lot of it can be undone as soon as there's a change in power.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that said, I am really impressed with what's happening with the Department of Defense. I love what Pete Hegseth is doing. I think that he was born for this challenge. I don't say that lightly, because there are a lot of people who would cave under the pressure. I was looking at the Media Research Center has just done a kind of a breakdown of positive versus negative coverage over the first 100 days. And so, and you expect this, but Trump's coverage in 2017 was 89% negative. Trump's coverage so far this term has been 92% negative.
Yeah.
For comparison, Joe Biden's coverage was 59% positive.
Wow.
And Pete Hegseth has a unanimous 100% negative rating.
Wow.
Every single
Yeah,
story
yeah.
about Pete Hegseth. And here's the thing, the criteria that they're using when they measure this. They are not including partisan sources. So if you go on, and they're only talking about ABC, CBS, and NBC, so the three major legacy networks, right? They're the only ones being measured. They're looking at 899 stories that ran between January 20th and April 9th. And across the broad range of topics, from defense to DOGE to tariffs to immigration, all of this stuff, right? And so 92% negative for Trump, but they are only measuring comments that evaluate the president made by anchors, reporters, or experts who are understood to be unbiased sources.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and it's
So if
92.
the average
That's
person
crazy.
who does not pay attention
to
politics would assume that the source is unbiased, then that's who they're counting. They're not counting Republicans who go on to defend Trump, or Democrats who go on to attack him, or even the ones that, split the difference and say something nice or not nice, whatever. They're
And the
only
fact that they
talking
found
about
a way
the
to
people
get
who are supposed to be unbiased.
Right. And the fact that they found a way to get even more bias than the 89% in 2017 is truly impressive. Yes. Virginia Kruta from the Daily Wire. Check out our articles every day at thedailywire.com. And many of those stories also on our website, newstalkstl.com. Virginia, as always, thank you so much for your time, my friend. We'll talk to you again soon.
Sure.
And happy 100 days. We're going to continue to talk about the Trump first 100 days in office. Paul Curtman from PR Curtman Investments joins us at 3 o'clock. And Vladimir Putin, president of Russia, just declared a 3-day ceasefire in the war with Ukraine. We'll get you an update on what is happening with that war and this ceasefire next here on Colombo Company.
Rock you like a hurricane. The blood is burning, the sun's is short. Desire's coming, it breaks out loud.
This is News Talk STL. News, analysis, and opinion from the voices you know and trust. News Talk STL at 1019, 941, and newstalkstl.com.
Dr. Ben Bocha from New Creation Dental Care, I think, is going to be on the air with us very soon in the coming days. I'm very much looking forward to that conversation. You guys have heard me talk about Dr. Bocha many times over the years. He has been the Colombo family dentist for years. In fact, both Maggie and James had their first ever dental appointment with Dr. Bocha and his team there at New Creation. And it's one of the many experiences that I always talk about whenever, if somebody's asking, for a recommendation about a dentist for themselves or for their family. Not only is New Creation Dental Care offers so many different services right there in the office that they are basically a one-stop shop for all your family dental needs. They are also just, they're great with kids. They're just a very positive, very positive experience whenever possible when you're dealing with the staff there at New Creation. So they are perfect for a family, in my opinion. If you are one of those people that are looking for a new dentist for you or your family, I highly recommend you check out Dr. Bocha and his team at New Creation Dental Care. An example of those great services that make it basically a one-stop shop for all your dental needs is the all-on-4 full arch implant procedure. This is a new procedure there at New Creation Dental Care. It's full mouth restoration that can give you back your smile in as little as 1 day. This is absolutely incredible, and it just shows you, the investment that Dr. Bocha makes in providing these services to his patients, and the investment of his own time and education to be an expert in these areas. No more suffering with damage or missing teeth or poor fitting dentures. And again, this in many cases can be done in less than a day. Check out some amazing smile makeovers and learn more about the all-on-4 procedure, plus everything that Dr. Bocha and his staff can do for you at New Creation Dental Care right now, just by visiting the website, newcreationdentalcare.com.
Attention St. Charles, looking for a local spot that satisfies all your cravings? Mario's Donut Restaurant is your place to go for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. From mouth-watering sandwiches and omelets to delicious gyros, Mexican dishes, salads, and wraps, we've got it all. And don't forget our famous donuts. They're so good, they'll make your eyes glaze over. Dine in or carry out. Our friendly staff is ready to serve you with love and care. Mention News Talk STL when you visit. Call 636-447-4515 or visit mariosdonutrestaurant.com.
Metro Shooting Supplies is a gun enthusiast ultimate destination. With over 400 rental guns, you can try before you buy. Serving Metro St. Louis for over 20 years, we offer the largest selection of new, used, and consignment firearms. Buy a new gun and get a free $200 range membership located at Fifi and St. Charles Rock Road. Metro Shooting Supplies, where shooting meets expertise. Visit buylearnshoot.com.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli here with our great friend Chris Cooper from Serenity Wealth Management. Hi, Chris.
How are you, Vic?
I don't want to put anybody else down, but when you go up and visit you at Serenity Wealth, your place looks like home.
So a lot of financial advisory offices, they have, the big mahogany desk or the big marble entryways and things like that. The stock market channel on the TV when you walk in the door, right? That doesn't really drive a good conversation. Good financial guidance and advice starts with a good conversation. People are nervous. People are afraid to talk about finances, right? And so you can see a little standoffish. Well, my objective is to try to have a good, casual conversation. By having those conversations about life, goals, objectives, it's what makes me understand what our financials are supposed to fund.
So if somebody does want to have a good conversation, how do they do that? How do they find you?
Our website is the best way to do that because you can get all the information you need, understand where we are, get a little bit more information, all that. SerenityWealthNow.com.
Reach out to Chris and Stacy today at SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
This hour of Colombo Company brought to you by Gutter Pros. Water goes where we tell it. Call 314-656-7195 or visit them at gutterpros.com.
Oh, don't you dare look back. Just keep your eyes on me.
Welcome back to Colombo Company on 101.9 News Talk STL. As I mentioned, some breaking news from the war in Ukraine. Russian President Vladimir Putin today declared a 3-day ceasefire in that war to mark the 80th anniversary of World War II Victory Day. Victory Day is Russia's largest secular holiday. It regularly features a parade in Moscow's Red Square to celebrate the Soviet Union's victory over Nazi Germany during World War II. The Kremlin said the 72-hour ceasefire would run from the beginning of May 8th and last through the end of May 10th. So this isn't effective immediately. This is coming up when that holiday is happening. The Russian president put out a statement saying, quote, all military actions are suspended for this period. Russia believes that the Ukrainian side should follow this example. In the event of violations by the Ukrainian side, Russia's armed forces will give an adequate and effective response. Putin has previously said that he agrees in principle with a Russia-Ukraine permanent ceasefire deal, though that has obviously not come to fruition yet. And when we were talking to Virginia Kruta from the Daily Wire in that last segment, she mentioned Marco Rubio was on Meet the Press over the weekend, yesterday, and part of that interview, they addressed this situation, and Marco Rubio gave the update that that permanent ceasefire deal is, quote, still not there. So, the progress has definitely not advanced any further as far as a permanent ceasefire is concerned. But
what was interesting, by the way, I'll just make it a quick little comment here. When Trump met with Zelensky during the funeral service for the Pope, there were 3 chairs set out there. I don't know if people paid attention to that. The third chair was supposed to be for Macron sitting there. And Trump said, oh, no, this is between the two of us. So that's why it wound up in those photos, just the two of them,
with the
literally
chair.
knee to knee. Yeah, with the empty chair.
Interesting. And, whether he's just trying to score some points on the world stage by announcing this upcoming 3-day ceasefire, any period of peace is, I think, worth at least talking about and obviously being happy about. So, while the Ukrainian side has not officially responded to this point, Vladimir Putin today did announce that there is a planned 3-day ceasefire in the war with Ukraine to celebrate Russia's Victory Day. That is from May 8th through the end of May 10th. So we'll continue to keep an eye on what's happening with that story, of course, as we go through the coming days and weeks. And we'll check in with Paul Curtman from PR Curtman Investments, get an update on where we're at with the tariff situation, the world economy, the markets, everything going on there. We'll talk to Paul about it next here on Colombo Company.
This is what's happening.
The president's policy has gotten us to a very successful place.
Up to 70 countries are pushing for talks, but China is retaliating.
1019 and 94.1.
Number one for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
When it comes to spending your tax dollars and teaching your kids, governments and school districts should be an open book. But in Missouri, that's not always the case. Recently, the Show Me Institute sent out a sunshine law request to school districts across the state, asking for information on whether certain topics are being taught. Specifically, a controversial one called critical race theory was included in the list. Many districts didn't respond. Some wanted to charge large fees to process the documents. Lee's Summit outside Kansas City wanted over $35,000. A rural district, Morgan County, wanted $15,000. The Sunshine Law does allow charging a reasonable fee for sending out information, but there's nothing reasonable about $35,000 or $15,000. These districts should want to be transparent about their curriculums. Taxpayers deserve to know what their kids are being taught. Learn more at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Jewels on Hampton and St. Louis Hills is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, coins, flatware, and fine watches on site. Jewels on Hampton is a premier jeweler featuring Alvanza's jewel art designs with an exquisite selection of diamonds, semi-precious stone jewelry, and vintage watches. Their expert design team can restyle your jewelry to today's contemporary style. They also do jewelry and watch repair. Need extra cash? Jewels on Hampton is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, coins, flatware, and fine watches. Bring in your collectibles and clocks and sports memorabilia and figurines too. Jewels on Hampton, 4506 Hampton, just 3 blocks south of Chippewa, and jewelsonhampton.com. Call them at 314-752-5000, 314-752-5000, and jewelsonhampton.com. Jewels on Hampton.
I'm Danny Cohn, President and CEO of the Jewish Federation of St. Louis. This past week, the Jewish holiday of Yom HaShoah commemorated the 80th anniversary of the Holocaust and remembered the 6 million Jews who were murdered by the Nazis in World War II. As Jews, when we recall the atrocities of the Holocaust, we say, never again. This is not a slogan or a tagline. It's a responsibility we all share to prevent the systematic hatred from going unchecked. When we work together to fight against prejudice and bigotry towards everyone, we create a better community for everyone.
Connor Roofing. You can count on Connor. Connor Roofing is now a 2-time winner of the National Best of the Best Award for customer satisfaction for roofing, storm damage restoration, siding, gutters, both residential and commercial. Please visit ConnorRoofing.com for an estimate. And remember, you can count on Connor.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott. Russia declares a short ceasefire in Ukraine for next week.
President Vladimir Putin has announced a unilateral 72-hour ceasefire in Ukraine to mark Victory Day in World War II. The Kremlin said the truce, ordered on humanitarian grounds, will run from the start of May 8 and last through the end of May 10 to mark Moscow's defeat of Nazi Germany in 1945, Russia's biggest secular holiday. Ukraine, which has previously agreed to President Donald Trump's proposal of a full 30-day ceasefire, dismissed Putin's move as window dressing. The move comes as Trump scales up efforts to broker a peace deal in Ukraine. Until now, Putin has refused to accept a complete unconditional ceasefire. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Also at townhall.com, energy giant Chevron, in partnership with Total Energies, wasting no time taking advantage of President Trump's promotion of the oil and gas industry less than 100 days into the new administration. Reporter Bernie Bennett with details.
Total Energies released a statement saying, quote, Total Energies announced the start of production from the deepwater Ballymore field offshore U.S., in which the company has a 40% interest alongside operator Chevron with a 60% interest. Production will take place in the Gulf of America. Last week, President Trump issued a memo streamlining the energy permitting process with a goal of getting new projects off the ground as quickly as possible. The White House released a statement, quote, This plan will guide agencies as they use technology to digitize permit applications and give sponsors more transparency and predictability on project permitting schedules. Bernie Bennett in Washington.
A suspect arrested in connection with last week's theft of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem's purse as she ate at a Washington, D.C. restaurant. The Secret Service says the suspect is a serial offender. On Wall Street, the Dow are adding 114 points today. The Nasdaq down 16. More at townhall.com.
The following is not an actor, but a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
I'm Claire from Trinity Debt Management. I'm a counselor, and the reason that I love working for Trinity is because I get to help folks with one of the hardest problems a family can face, and that's financial difficulties. In this day and age, everything is going up. You have higher utilities, higher grocery bills, higher fuel, and those credit card interest rates have gone up as well. We can help you with that. We can help you get lower interest rates, lower monthly payments. In just a few minutes, we put together a plan that gets you out of debt and keeps you out of debt. I love my job. It's a great program and a very smart way to find debt relief.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976.
I'm Claire, a Trinity counselor. Call me and become debt-free for keeps.
1-800-990-6976.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Leah Hill with your first alert forecast. Warming temperatures today, breezy as well with those southerly winds after the warm front passes. A high today of 87 degrees with winds gusting at times over 25 miles per hour. A lot of sun, but we do cloud over tonight and watch for some storms in the morning tomorrow. Some of them could be strong. We have another risk for stronger storms in the afternoon and evening. Tomorrow is a first alert weather day. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Fox News commentary.
2 judges have been accused of aiding and abetting illegal aliens, which means the left has found its new stupid hill to die on. I'm Tommy Lahren. More next.
Trust and Will knows that we'll all eventually need a will. How about right now? Trust and Will makes creating your will easy, like while you're lounging on the couch easy. Trust and Will is designed by attorneys but customized by you, and all documents are state-specific and secure. Find your plan at trustandwill.com and use offer code RADIO now for 20% off. That's trustandwill.com, offer code RADIO. Trust and Will is an online estate planning service. Visit trustandwill.com for details.
Former New Mexico Judge Joe Cano and his wife were arrested for allegedly providing housing to a Venezuelan illegal alien and suspected gang member. Cano faces 1 count of tampering with evidence, and his wife was charged with 1 count of conspiracy to tamper with evidence. They face up to 20 years in prison if convicted. And the DOJ also arrested and charged Milwaukee County Circuit Judge Hannah Dugan with obstructing and impeding a proceeding before a department or agency of the United States and concealing an individual to prevent his discovery and arrest. You know, Border Czar Tom Holman and AG Pam Bondi made it crystal clear. If you were caught aiding and abetting illegal immigration or thwarting the efforts of immigration officers, you will be prosecuted to the fullest extent. Apparently, these 2 judges didn't get that memo, or maybe they didn't care, but either way, they are not above the law. I'm Tommy Lahren, and you can watch my show, Tommy Lahren is Fearless, at Outkick.com.
This is what's happening.
The president's policy has gotten us to a very successful place.
Up to 70 countries are pushing for talks, but China is retaliating.
101.9 and 94.1.
Number 1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
It's a great song.
Black Velvet.
Yeah, great.
Alana
pick.
Miles.
Great
Yeah.
pick. Great pick. Our old friend Katie Fitzpatrick can sing the bleep out of this song.
Oh, I'd love to hear her sing this.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's been a staple of our band's set list.
You know, now that you mention it, I think maybe I did hear her do part of it.
Yeah.
Because you guys were practicing here in the building one night, and I was still here. And man, it came through the walls, and she did a great job.
She knocked it out of the park. This is a great song. Welcome back to Colombo Company on 119.94.1 News Talk STL. Big thanks to both Mike McClary from Intervine, our AI expert here on the show, and Virginia Kruta from the Daily Wire for joining us in that first hour. Now, to help us kick off the 3 o'clock hour, here is our buddy Paul Curtman, former Missouri State Representative, the president of PR Curtman Investments. And Paul, we're kicking off a new week, and we're celebrating the first 100 days of the Trump administration. That is officially tomorrow, but the White House is already starting to, release their big successes, the progress that they've made, and I think we're going to hear a lot more of that in the coming 24 hours or so from the White House as they celebrate this the first 100 days of the Trump administration. I want to ask you a little bit about that first 100 days and see what you think about how successful that's been. But first, Paul, I want to ask you, of course, about the economy and the market and the continued world reaction to Trump's tariff policies. What's the situation as we kick off this week?
That's a question that's on everybody's mind. The situation, I believe, is stabilizing. It's beginning to cool right now. But of course, we're still in a window of time that a lot of these countries have about 90 days as of right around April 15th in order to get back to the negotiating table. So I would say in kind of parlaying a little bit on your first question there, in the first 100 days of Trump's presidency, he's managed to get over 75 countries to the renegotiating table to work out a better economic and trade climate for the U.S. But still, at the end of this threshold of time, this period of time, I would expect there to be a lot more volatility because China doesn't seem to be wanting to back down. And it's just kind of the wait and see game right now, Tony.
Yeah. So you mentioned that 90-day period, that time period there, because a lot's been made of the temporary or short-term pain that could be experienced from the tariff policies that even the White House has addressed, to a certain extent. And we've talked about that in our conversations here. And we just talked to Mike McClary from Intervine, who I've told you in the past, he's been very, very open with, the impact the tariffs have had on his business, because he gets a lot of the technology for the flashlights and lanterns and headlamps. A lot of that is produced in China. So he has a big part of his business reliant on, buying products from China. He has said this is going to be tough, but he's also said that he thinks that Trump is ultimately doing the right thing. So what is that window of time? Is it these 90 days, which is, just only a couple of weeks old at this point? Like, how long can we expect the struggle between, the enacting these tariffs and the benefit that comes back our way? How big is that window, do you think?
That all depends, because there's so much more negotiating than just what is the benchmark of tariffs supposed to be. I'll give you an example. One of the things that Donald Trump wants to pick a fight with China on, and I wouldn't say he's picking a fight, I would say he's fighting back. And that is the fact that China, for far too long, has been stealing a lot of intellectual property that should be protected by American companies. So, you do have smaller businesses right now who it's hurting them. But once a lot of companies reach a certain size, China will just steal their intellectual property and then sell products back to the U.S. And then they'll even use American law firms to sue those American companies to further drive them out of business. That way, China has the ability to capture much more of the market. And it's all done through highway robbery. And so I think that we're going to see a lot more issues that are brought into the conversation regarding these tariffs. But clearly the one issue that is making China sweat bullets right now, because their economy really isn't as strong as they would like the rest of the world to think. The issue that's making them have to sit up in their chair and decide whether or not they want to really fight this fight with us is this tariff issue. So I think in the next 90 days, we might be able to see a lot more get brought into the discussion. But if not, if it doesn't happen, Donald Trump is in this for the long haul. And he will make sure that this 90 days gets stretched out to 120 days or 24 months if that's what it takes. But we have been taken advantage of by China for a long time, and a lot of American companies and jobs have been completely run out because of China.
You know what? I want to dig into IP theft a little bit more, because I think that's you're so spot on to to bring that up, and how that's been a big, just as big of a problem as anything else coming out of China, maybe even bigger, the IP theft situation. But before we get into that, I wanted to ask you about what we've seen so far, as far as, because I think what you said about this is more fighting back than it is starting a fight with China. And I think it's also important that we point out, you'll hear a lot of people on the left media that are against these tariff issues, and even some people on the right that will talk about how, China's in the driver's seat. They have all the power. We owe them, so much money. They're, the national debt situation and all the products that they make. And so, if they decide, they don't want to do business with us anymore, we're the ones that are, completely screwed. It's not that one-sided. All of those things are true. We've definitely given too much to China. We've allowed them to get away with too much. We've been, we're in debt to them tremendously. But if they don't do business with the United States, things get bad in China for their people and their government and their control pretty quickly. So it's not as one-sided as I think sometimes it's painted out to be in the media. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would agree with that. America right now, we are a consumer nation, and China largely depends on us. Like they finance a lot of our debt. They do that for sure. But they also sell us most of the stuff that they make, and they don't want to lose this business. I 100% agree with you.
We give them a lot of food,
as the left would make it out to be.
Yeah, and they get a lot of food from us. They get a lot of things that they need, their people need from us. So yeah, if there was a complete cutoff, it would be really bad for the United States. I'm not saying that in any way, but it would also be really bad for China, and that's why it's not as one-sided, I think, as a lot of times it's painted out to be in the media. Going back to IP theft, I know that we can't sue a Chinese company in an American court for putting, Mickey Mouse on a t-shirt that's not, without Disney's permission or something like that. However, why, in your opinion, why have we allowed it to get so bad? Why are we selling and buying all of those stolen IP products here in the United States? You would think that, people go, wow, there's nothing we can do about it. We can't stop them we don't have the law. We don't have the jurisdiction to stop those companies from making those things. Don't we have the jurisdiction to stop those products from being sold on American soil? And I'm not talking about something as ineffective as a t-shirt, like, technical, computer programs and, and technical IP, that computer companies have, and think technology and that sort of stuff. Can't we stop that from being sold over here? And why haven't we?
We can, but I can tell you just from my own experience that it's a lot more complex getting to the bottom of coding, for example. That might be protected intellectually. It's the product, it's proprietary with one developer, but deep within that coding, and I'll try to make this as simple and plain as I can, deep inside that coding, there's going to be systems that are proprietary that should be IP protected, but somebody in China They're going to get down into the bottom of that. They're going to completely duplicate it. And they're going to take this one little part that makes their whole machine run. And they're going to use that one little part. And it's going to get buried inside of a whole new platform that's being used for essentially the same thing as this American developer over here. But it takes a lot longer to be able to reach down and find it. And then when you do find it, Tony, there's already companies that are using it, that are relying on it. And so it can become a really, really complex issue. But all of this goes back to a lot of companies, Chinese companies that are currently trading on US stock exchanges right now. And they have not been compliant with different reporting requirements that they've been that we've told them that they need to be reporting on certain financial issues, whether it's intellectual property, whether it's just the numbers, the fundamental reporting that a lot of American companies have to do. We just have not been holding China to the same standard that we hold our own American citizens to, and it's been to our detriment. And so whether it's intellectual property or whether it's just general business practices, sometimes it can be complex enough that it's just a little bit harder to find than maybe we would like to think about it. But again, it takes hard work. And you've heard me say this before. Just like we get upset with politicians because they're turning into celebrities instead of actually doing the boring work that needs to be done to protect us. It's the same thing here. It's a
AKA
lot
their
of boring
job.
work, but somebody's got to do it.
Right. Yeah. Do their job instead of, tour the country and try to win their next election. One more question on the Chinese tariff policy, and then I want to talk a little bit about the first 100 days of this second Trump administration. We talk about, the struggles and, some of the pain that we'll have to suffer, if we're going to see this thing through. What is your biggest fear about that? Is it that how long this could last, or could it get even worse? Like, is this what it's going to be like, and we've just got to weather the storm, or could things even get worse moving forward if they don't go, the way that the Trump administration would like it to go? What are your biggest fears about moving forward with this?
Yeah, my biggest fear is that it really could get worse. My biggest fear is that we could wind up in the middle of this tiff with China, and we reach a stalemate and we don't find any resolution. Even if it doesn't get worse, it will stay bad and ultimately compound the uncertainty that consumers and producers have here in the U.S. If we just reach a stalemate and nobody's willing to budge. I think you have two bulldogs like completely squaring up with each other. Neither one of them wants to back down. You have Trump, China. And so that stalemate can create a lot of uncertainty and can raise a lot of anxiety, which we do not need in our economy right now. Already the GDP has contracted once. This most recent report showed a small contraction from the previous quarter. And what we don't want to see is negative GDP growth. And we don't want to see that 2 consecutive quarters in a row, to where now the numbers are telling us that we're in a recession. And having a stalemate would contribute to that, because people don't spend money when they don't have any certainty about the value that spending that money is going to bring. And right now, that's what some businesses are experiencing.
You bring up a really good point there, and it's a personal thing. It's a human thing, but it definitely plays a role in this situation that Donald Trump and the Chinese president Xi Jinping, these are two men that do not like to give in any way. They don't like to have any type of appearance that they've been taken advantage of or been persuaded into changing their mind or whatever it may be, from whatever pressure, both media, economy, whatever it may be. And so that is a part of the formula going forward and how this is all going to shake out. We've got a couple minutes left here with Paul Curtman, PR Curtman Investments. And as I mentioned, the celebration at the White House over Trump's first 100 days in office has already started. White House kicked off its celebration of the first 100 days by highlighting its efforts to combat illegal immigration. Today, the Customs Enforcement Chief Tom Homan joined White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt at an early morning briefing The pair touted massive decreases in border crossings as well as new executive orders aimed at deportations and further border enforcement. So, already starting to, as I mentioned, point out all the successes and all the actions that have been taken by the Trump administration in the first 100 days, whether it's economy related or just in general. Paul, looking at this first 100 days, I don't know if you want to give them a letter grade or you just want to talk about, how successful or not you think this president has been. What are your thoughts on these first 100 days of the second Trump administration? Oh no!
Wow, he disappeared.
Oh, there we go.
Oh.
We cut out there a minute, Paul. Paul, can you hear us?
All right.
Let's try to get Paul. Let's do this. Let's take a quick break. So let's take a quick break. Let's see if we can get reconnected with Paul, and we'll finish that conversation on the other side. You're listening to Colombo Company on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
If you have a phone, you have a radio. Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new News Talk STL app.
And listen anytime, anywhere.
Hey, Jamie Allman here for the great Window World. Just over the last 20 years of Window World being in St. Louis, they've improved the look and thermal efficiency of more than 76,000 customers in St. Louis. Plus, Window World windows come with a lifetime warranty that covers all parts, glass breakage, and labor. And now Window World is now offering 36 months, same as cash financing with approved credit. Call them today at 314-993-1800, 314-993-1800.
This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
What's left of left? Let me be more specific. What is left, as in remaining of the left? Oh, there are plenty of leftists in the world, our nation. And I'm not trying to suggest they are disappearing now or anytime soon. But I have a couple stories in front of me that prompt the question. One is a Democrat U.S. senator says Trump is wasting his time trying to negotiate with Iran. This senator says our negotiations should involve 30,000-pound bombs hitting Iran's nuclear facilities. Or as he said, waste that stuff. Okay, not an exact quote. Which Democrat senator is pushing to blow Iran off the map? Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman. Now, here's another leftist talking less like a leftist. Alex Soros, the son of the multi-billionaire. The Soros Foundation gave big-time money to a climate change group that was going to go after Trump. It didn't happen. Alex Soros said, we gave them money for the environmental, but all they do is talk about Palestine. What the hell are they doing? Soros is upset. The environmental group might learn, do not bite the hand that feeds you.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
You want the best place to watch baseball or any sport and be able to enjoy premium cigars and whiskeys? Lit Cigar Lounge. Lit has so many events each month. You need to constantly check the Lit Cigar Lounge Facebook. You don't want to miss anything. Plus, you can order food from Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta, delivered within minutes right to your table. By the way, we're in the season for great patio dining. Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta has your table waiting.
Hi, it's Ken Williams, and my favorite Capriati sandwich is the Capistrami. You've got hot pastrami, melty Swiss cheese, crunchy coleslaw, and zesty Russian dressing. What else do you need? I love Capriati's, and you will too.
On Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
I'm so tired of my water smelling like rotten eggs. Iron foul. It makes my clothes and home smell, and my sink and faucet look dirty. I'm calling Jones Air and Water Treatment for their solution to this pollution.
Jones Air and Water Treatment has a solution to your pollution. Call now for your free water analysis at 636-899-1040 and live with clean, great-tasting water. That's 636-899-1040 or joneswater.com on the web. Call us now.
Attention Chesterfield, your beverage destination has arrived. Introducing the all-new Save On Liquor and Wine Chesterfield, a massive 30,000 square foot paradise. Step inside our walk-in humidor featuring the largest selection of premium cigars anywhere. From craft beers to fine wines, top-shelf liquors to trendy spritzers. We got it. Competitive prices, knowledgeable staff, and an unbeatable selection. Visit the new Chesterfield Airport Road location today, one of our many stores across Missouri and Illinois, or at saveonliquor.com.
On the next
Larry Connors USA.
With Larry Connors USA, you get news, opinion, analysis, plus an education.
Larry Connors USA. Now, weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new News Talk STL app.
On my way to work in the morning.
Usually I'm in the car.
I listen on the app in my car every morning going to work.
Download the News Talk STL app and listen anytime, anywhere.
Welcome back to Colombo Company on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL. Going to wrap up our conversation with Paul Curtman here in just a moment. As I mentioned, we talked to Virginia Kruta from the Daily Wire and our AI expert Mike McClary from Intervine in the 2 o'clock hour today. If you missed any of that, make sure you are subscribed to our podcast, because that's the best way to make sure that you never miss anything that happens here on the show. We put the show out as a podcast right after we get off the air every single day, and we put it on basically every podcast platform. So wherever you get your podcasts, just make sure you're also subscribed to Colombo and Company on that platform. You can also access our podcast on our new and improved station app. The News Talk STL app is absolutely free. It's the best way to listen to the station no matter where you are on planet Earth, crystal clear. And you can access our podcast, link directly to our social media platforms. It's CarPlay and Android Auto compliance, all of that and more on the new and improved News Talk STL station app. So if you don't have that yet, make sure that you go and get it. It's absolutely free. I mean, what's wrong with you if you don't have it?
Tony, here's my quick app story from over the weekend.
Oh,
Kathy
yeah.
and I were at the Blues Fest in Washington, Missouri over the weekend, listening to Jeremiah Johnson.
Oh,
great
nice.
blues
Yes.
band.
Uh-huh.
And I multitasked with the earbud in my left ear, listening on the app so I could hear JC's show on Saturday night. And then Jeremiah Johnson in my right ear
That is
live,
fantastic.
cranking out the tunes.
I can't tell you how often I do that. I'll put one earbud in, you know, as I'm working around the house or doing whatever I'm doing, as a way to listen to a podcast, listen to the news, listen to the station, whatever it may be.
Yep.
And
do dishes at the same time.
do dishes or cut the grass or whatever it is at the exact same time. So yeah, make sure you check out the News Talk STL app in the Google Play Store or the App Store, or wherever you get your apps. It's absolutely free. All right. I think we have reconnected with Paul Curtman, former Missouri State Representative, president of PR Curtman Investments. And just switching gears there, Paul, before we lost you from the tariff conversation to the first 100 days of the Trump administration. For one, I can't believe it's only been 100 days. It just feels like he's been in office for a lot longer than that, but we're finally here. The all-important first 100 days that you always hear so much about during campaign season and things like that. Tomorrow is officially 100 days. The White House kicked off its celebration of Trump's first 100 days in office today during a press briefing with Tom Homan and Caroline Leavitt. I was mentioning that just a moment ago. They were laying out their successes when it comes to strengthening the border in these first 100 days. So we're going to hear a lot over the next 24 hours or so from the Trump administration, laying out, all the things that they've accomplished in this first 100 days. And I'll re-ask you the question, Paul. How do you personally feel so far about Trump's performance so far?
Yeah, I think that his performance in this first 100 days has been absolutely remarkable. And I think it feels like he's been in office a lot longer, because for the last 10 years now, he's completely dominated the headlines, even when he wasn't in office. But the work that he's been getting done in the first 100 days, it would have taken probably 3 or 4 other presidents to do in full 2 full terms each. Education reform, immigration reform. He's signed about 100, almost coming up on 150 executive orders. And to put that in context, Biden only signed just under 45 in his first 100 days. And so Donald Trump has been just plowing through these promises that he has been making to the American people. He's been getting a lot done. I think that's one reason why I feel like he's been in office a lot longer, because he's been able to get so much done. And in a lot of cases, he's just been able to stir up a lot, which has told us how much more work really needs to be done. And by that, I mean everything that's been uncovered with Doge and all the fraud, waste, and abuse and the corruption that's been discovered. So he's been able to do a lot, but he's also done enough that he's kind of stirred up this dust cloud to show us how filthy things really are and really signal to everybody just how much more work actually needs to be done.
Yeah. And, you need to point out, because we've been critical, or at least I have been critical of the overuse of executive orders from presidents in the past. So while I have in most of these cases, I agree with what President Trump has done and am supportive of the way he has come in and brought some common sense and addressed some of these ridiculous issues that were left with after the Biden administration, specifically when it comes to things like law and order and the border and boys playing women's sports. And we just talked to Mike McClary about his executive order last week that requires AI education to be taught in public schools, K through 12, which I think is a great move and very important. But I asked Virginia Kruta from the Daily Wire last hour this same question. I thought she pointed out something very important, in that this is all great stuff, but it also can just be undone as quickly as it was put in place by another president down the line. And it's important that if we want to see these successes in the impact and the correction that the Trump administration has tried to apply to this country, that it's going to take congressional act as well. These Republicans that have the majority now, were given the majority and have the House and have the Senate and have the White House after last year's election, they need to also do their job to solidify some of these things, because relying on executive order is not a good way to govern long term. What are your thoughts on that?
I 100% agree. I mean, we've all had a lot of fun with the renaming of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. But of course, this was done by executive order in order to help us get around an executive order that President Biden had signed. And so it's a very important point for people to remember, because if we turn into a country that's governed through executive signing statements or executive orders, then essentially the people, even though we have a little fun with it and we like it and we appreciate Trump doing as much as he's done, even by way of executive order, because he's trying to get something done, like we get that, but the pendulum will eventually swing the other way. And when it does, that executive signing pen is going to be in the hand of somebody that we don't approve of. Yeah. And so we are setting precedents right now that other presidents are for sure going to take advantage of. And what we need to do is we need to make sure that we're electing people in Congress who will actually, like I said last segment, do the hard work, do the boring stuff. That way we don't need a president to do anything except enforce the laws that the people through their representation have passed.
Still, we'll, I'm sure, talk about this more tomorrow with our guests on the show tomorrow on when it is officially the 100th day in office. But what are your thoughts so far on Donald Trump in his first 100 days?
I think on the one side, I'm ecstatic about the transparency that we've seen in this administration, because you can watch literally hundreds of events every month or so, whether it's stuff in the Oval Office going on or in the cabinet, events on the White House lawn, events that are going on in the press room. Doesn't matter. You can watch gaggles on Air Force One.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the right name for the plane? I forgot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Air Force
okay.
One. Mm-hmm.
There's so much transparency, none of which, I'm being honest here, and I know that sounds kind of critical, none of which we saw with the Biden administration.
No.
Very little, if any, transparency.
No transparency, and really just no communication. We would go days, weeks without hearing from Joe
Yeah.
Biden, especially in that last year or so when he was literally being hidden by his staff. I mean, Donald Trump's on television right now. He's
With Philadelphia
the
Eagles.
Philadelphia Eagles are there for their Super Bowl celebration. He's talking live right now, and he does that, Paul, almost every single day, and he did that in his first administration as well. Over the 4 years of Biden, you just sort of kind of forgot that this is what a active president looks and feels like. He's talking to the country. He's talking to voters on a near daily basis. He's communicating directly through social media. And, we kind of got lulled into this new norm that shouldn't have been the norm of going weeks without hearing from the president of the United States during the Biden administration. What do you think? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's great. It used to be in America that people had much more access to their president. I mean, things clearly have changed, but it used to be, historically speaking, people could almost walk up right to the White House, knock on the front door.
Literally could in the early days. Yeah.
Yeah, or else catch the president walking down the street to meet some friends at a restaurant. And I know it's not that way. It'll never go back to that again. But Donald Trump is really trying to make himself available and accessible to the public. And Donald Trump, he doesn't get up there with cards and with direction of who he can take a question from. He's the one who is clearly in control. And just being able to have somebody that has that commanding presence, whether he's behind a podium or he's just answering questions while he's walking out to get on board the helicopter, it is refreshing to know that we have somebody there that is fully aware and fully in control of his faculties and is saying the things that he knows he wants to say, things that needs to be said, and is just doing what he believes the people sent him there to do. It's great knowing we have a president that's there right now, and nobody's wondering who's pulling the strings, because we know Donald Trump is the guy that's really in charge of himself there.
And on the other hand, to both of you guys, and especially to you, Paul, because I know it's something that's making you antsy like it's making me antsy. I want to see some of this stuff codified into law.
Yeah.
Some of these important executive orders, like no men and women's sports, and
Right.
it just goes right on down the line. This stuff needs to get taken care of. I know we've got 3.5 years, and folks are going to say, don't worry, we've got time. But you know how notoriously slow the process is.
Yeah, it falls on the rest of the Republican Party and Congress
Exactly.
and Senate, that have been given this mandate by voters and given the power, as we mentioned earlier, to solidify these things. Paul, we've kept you long here. Any final thoughts before we cut you loose?
No, not really. Great to be with you again on another Monday. And I know that over the next 100 days, we're probably going to have a lot more news, just
For
like we had the
sure.
first 100 days with Donald Trump.
Yeah, thanks for fighting through a little technical problems there with us, and we'll talk to you again very, very soon. That is Paul Curtman from PR Curtman Investments. Yeah, we'll talk to you soon.
See you, buddy.
Stell, before we hand things off to the Bill O'Reilly report and the Tim Jones and Chris Arp show, I wanted to, and we'll talk more about this tomorrow. It's election day in Canada. There is
Today it is. You're right.
There's a story out right now. There's not just one report, but sort of a narrative coming out of Canada that there's been a dramatic reversal in support for the Liberal Party up there, and the media in Canada is putting that blame for the Conservative candidate and the Conservative Party losing the momentum they had after the country basically turned on Justin Trudeau on Donald Trump.
Of course they are.
And they're saying that Donald Trump, if the Liberal candidate wins, who is the acting prime minister up there, Carney, these various reports coming out of Canada are saying this is if the Liberal Party takes over, it's Donald Trump's fault for making conservatives unpopular in Canada. What do you think of that narrative?
If Carney takes over, my guess is look for some type of action to happen in provinces like Alberta and Saskatchewan, maybe even to the point of seceding, possibly seceding. And you could have a patchwork type of Canada within a few years, because Quebec's wanted to recede for years, and Parti Québécois would love to try to work something out to leave the Canadian Union. So look for a big mess if that happens. But you're right. There's a lot of blame going around saying, hey, Trump caused this, Trump caused that. No, the it's been 10 years of liberal rule up there, and it's killing that country.
It is. And it looked like the conservatives were going to cruise to victory, but according to a lot of polls here recently, it's gotten a lot closer. Here's one example of that. In an Angus Reid Institute poll released on December 30th, the conservatives were in the supermajority territory with 45% support compared to the liberals at 11%. The results of a poll released this weekend on Saturday had the liberals at 44%. So just since December, if these numbers are to be believed, which of course, take with a grain of salt, the Liberal Party in Canada has gone from 11% support to 44% support, which actually puts them slightly ahead of the Conservative Party just since December. And these reports say, quote, between tariffs and threats of annexation, Trump became the single most important issue in the country overnight. That gave Mark Carney, the liberal, an opportunity to be the first out of the gate to say that we are not going to put up with this. We're a sovereign nation and we're going to fight. So again, the narrative out of Canada is that if the liberals win this election, and I'm sure we'll talk more about this tomorrow. We'll see, those results are finalized.
And keep in mind, the press up there is just like it is here.
Oh yeah, if not worse, which is even hard to believe. But yeah, for sure. But
they're beholden to the government.
Super interesting stuff that we will continue to keep an eye on. Stella and I, Colombo and Company, back tomorrow at 2:00. In the meantime, keep it right here for the O'Reilly Report next, and the Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Experience the exhilarating atmosphere of a Cardinals game. Join the sea of red in the wave around the stadium. Feel the rush of excitement as a home run lights up the sky with fireworks, bringing the whole ballpark to their feet. Nothing beats the thrill of watching the Cards get the W with the final out at the plate. It's more than a game. It's an experience. Visit Cardinals.com for tickets and info. St. Louis Cardinals for the Lou.
There is no better way to enjoy America's favorite pastime than cheering on the Cardinals with your family at Busch Stadium. From the thrill of watching the game to the kid-friendly activities, food, and fun, the ballpark has it all. Make magical memories as you cheer together for every home run, double play, and Cards win. Your family's summer tradition starts here at Busch Stadium. Grab your tickets today at Cardinals.com. St. Louis Cardinals for the Lou.
Looking to brighten your home and garden? Anthony's Produce has everything blooming. We're bursting with annuals, perennials, tropicals, and gorgeous hanging baskets. And don't forget our fresh fruit and vegetable trays, beautiful fruit bouquets, and chocolate-covered strawberries, made fresh daily. Mother's Day's coming. Place your orders now to show Mom how special she is. We've extended our hours. Now open Monday through Saturday till 6:30 and Sundays till 5. Anthony's Produce on Juggerman and St. Peter's and online at anthonysproduce.com.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Bob Onder, Congressman for Missouri's 3rd District.
The fear has been that automakers want to take AM radio away so that